Okay, welcome Rose. Welcome
Right.
to this mediation information assessment meeting. This is MIAM. So I'm Jonathan. As you can see, I'm from Direct Mediation Services. And just a bit of housekeeping first and foremost, just to let you know that this session is private and confidential. And what we discuss will not be disclosed to the other person that you want to potentially mediate about, who's Joe. Okay, Joe Smith.
Yeah,
Um, so as it's private and confidential, can you confirm that you are on your own
I am.
and
Yes. Yeah.
nobody's listening in,
No, that's
okay,
right.
and you're not recording this on any media?
No, no.
Okay. So can I just ask you, as part of our the way we conduct online sessions, just to maneuver your phone or whatever technology you're using around, so I can just see that you are on your own. We have to do that, I'm afraid.
Oh,
May sound a
right.
bit over the top, but that's what we have to do. Okay.
Okay.
That's absolutely smashing. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you very much. Okay, so Rose, what I normally do on these sessions is first of all to give you an understanding of the principles of mediation. Okay, so if we have mediation, if you have mediation with Joe, then you'll hopefully understand the context in which it takes place.
Mm.
And then, Rose, what we'll then look at is the background and circumstances, what you want to mediate about, what you hope to achieve. I'll ask some questions about that, and I'll be making some notes as we go along, okay, for my record, just so that you know, and I'll be typing
Okay.
as we conduct this session. Then we'll look at what happens next in the process, what happens next, what happens if Joe is willing to mediate, what a session looks like, what happens if he's not willing to mediate. We'll also look at what happens if you have solutions and what happens if you don't have solutions in mediation.
Mm.
Finally, which I'm sure is important to you, we'll look at what the cost of mediation is likely to be, as I appreciate you're a private paying client, and what funding is available to offset some of those costs. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
The session will last normally about 45 minutes, something like that. Can last up to an hour. And if you have any questions at any time, please don't hesitate to interrupt me. All right. So, as I said, this is a private and confidential session. So, similarly, if you were to have mediation sessions with Joe, then those sessions would also be private and confidential. Okay. What you discuss in mediation is what lawyers call it's legally privileged, and that means that what you talk about in mediation stays in mediation. It gives you the opportunity to have very open, honest, and transparent discussions. And legal privilege means that if there was a court process, what you've discussed in mediation, no evidence can be given about what you discussed in mediation in any court process. So it's that opportunity to have very open and honest, as I said, and transparent discussions. And any solutions you reach in mediation are just your and Joe's solutions. Okay, so they're not binding like a court order. But I'll explain a bit later on how you could potentially put any solutions in mediation onto more of a firm footing. All right.
Okay. Thank you.
Um,
Yeah.
so mediation is a private, confidential, and legally privileged process. Now, in terms of confidentiality, what we discuss is confidential with me today. And as I said, it will be confidential with the mediator if it's not me in any mediation sessions that you have with Joe. Just to let you know that under our code of practice as mediators, there are a few circumstances which occasionally arise where we may have to break that confidence, sort of exceptions to confidentiality
Yeah.
revolves around safeguarding, Rose. So, for example, if we have information and we're concerned that a child may be at risk of harm, and that information could come today or in any mediation session, then we have an obligation as mediators to ensure that that would be disclosed to the relevant authorities.
Yeah. Of course. Yeah.
Similarly, Rose, if information came to light and we're concerned that an adult may be at risk of harm, well, we may call the authorities to get some help and assistance. That would be our call, all right? And the only other scenario where potentially we may break confidence is if we have information and we're concerned that a financial crime may have been committed under what's called the Proceeds of Crime Act to do with money laundering. It's a very rare occurrence for it to arise in a mediation session. It has happened to me once on one occasion.
Right.
And we'd have to stop mediating. But apart from those very rare circumstances, as I've described, what we discussed today and any mediation session remains totally confidential with us as mediators as well.
Yeah. Okay.
Just to let you know, any questions on that?
No, that's fine. Thank you.
Okay. So mediation is also a voluntary process. You're not obliged to mediate, neither is Joe. And I need to make that really clear to you. If you go to mediation sessions with Joe, then either of you can dip out of the process and stop the process at any time, because it is a voluntary process. Having said that, you need to be aware of the way the family courts treat mediation and other forms of what they call non-court dispute resolution processes. In other words, the family courts, if ever they're involved, they have an obligation, an active obligation, to consider whether they can adjourn any proceedings to enable mediation or other forms of non-court dispute resolution to take place running alongside a court process. The family courts now do have the power, in circumstances they deem appropriate, to make what they call adverse costs orders if they feel a party to legal proceedings has unreasonably refused to mediate or unreasonably refused to engage in other forms of non-court dispute resolution. In other words, the message from the judges is really, in the vast majority of situations, is that there should be an attempt to try and resolve the situation outside the family courts, okay? Either mediation or other forms of non-court dispute resolution, which I'll tell you about later. Having said that, you need to be aware that, sometimes mediation is not suitable, and part of the reasons for us holding these sessions is to inform participants about the process, but also to find out whether mediation is suitable as well. But I have to emphasize that mediation is voluntary, okay? So mediation is a voluntary, private, confidential, legally privileged process. As mediators, what I'll be doing if I'm mediating, essentially, is that I'll be facilitating a conversation, a dialogue between yourself and Joe. And in that dialogue or conversations, I'm trying to find out, okay, what are the issues here? What are the difficulties between the two of you? So we identify what the issues are, and it's about me trying to see where we can find some common ground on those issues and difficulties. It's about me helping the two of you think about solutions and proposals and options to try and resolve those issues and difficulties. And really, it's about me helping the two of you then find your long-term settled arrangements together. So mediation is not about me giving you advice, because I won't, because I'm impartial. I won't give you my opinion, okay, because I'm impartial and I'm neutral. I won't tell you what to do, because that's what a judge does. As a mediator, my role is to help the two of you find your own solutions, okay? So that's why we call the process self-determinative. In other words, yourself and Joe, it's a process where you find your own solutions. We're here to help you find those best solutions. So in doing so, as a mediator, I can give you general information, including general legal information, but I can't give you legal advice. I want to make that clear. Okay. So that was my background. Okay, just to let you know, I was a solicitor for many years in private practice, and which I'm now retired from. I'm not, as a mediator, able to give you legal advice or Joe legal advice, but we can give you legal information and general information to try and help you. Now, having said that, as mediators, we feel that where participants in mediation are legally informed about their situation, that really helps promote a good mediation process. So we think it's important that you have had the benefit of independent legal advice, ideally before you come to a first session, so you understand your legal situation. It's not compulsory to get legal advice, but we think it's really helpful. We think it really helps the process. Now, I appreciate that may come at a cost to you. You may be fortunate enough to find a local solicitor, for example. I don't know if you've taken any legal advice yet. Have you taken any legal advice, Rose, about your situation at all?
A little bit, but I haven't really got the money for it. So I'm taking a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Maybe fortunate. Well, you may have. So when you say a little bit, have you actually spoken to a solicitor on the phone or in a meeting? Or?
Yeah, just to get an outline of what my rights might be, really. Which as a grandmother is not. I'm not in a very strong position. I understand.
You have a little bit of understanding. I sometimes find lawyers can give you an hour's discount if a more in-depth presentation, a discounted interview. Pay a lower fee for an hour, or you may get half an hour free. I used to do that when I was in practice. You can get some basic legal information from the Citizens Advice Bureau, but they're not qualified legal professionals, but they have an understanding of the processes. Okay. All right. So what I'm going to do is just to recap on some information you've given me. So Rose, so I understand you're the grandmother of Charlie.
That's right. Yes.
Yeah. May 2019 is your grandson.
Yeah.
And who's Charlie's mother?
Jane.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that your daughter?
That's my daughter. Yes. Yeah.
Okay. And so you put that the other person in the conflict is Joe.
That's right. Yeah.
Joe is Charlie's dad.
That's right. Yes. Yes.
Okay. So to have a little bit of understanding. So who's Charlie living with?
Is mainly he's with his dad now. Yeah.
Oh, he's with his dad. Okay.
Yeah. Yes. It's been quite complicated, but it's ended up with it. He's with his dad.
Okay. Tell me a bit about the situation, how that happened.
Yeah, well, they were together, and I was really involved in the first couple of years of Charlie's life, really giving them both a lot of support because they both needed it. And so I often had him stay with me, or I'd take him places, So I was very hands on, and then they split up, and it was not very easy, but in the end they went for a 50-50 arrangement. So I still saw Charlie loads, and he actually lived with me then for another 2.5, 3 years. So you can see for most of his life I've been there.
Just to stop there, so just to summarise,
Yeah.
is that you're very much involved in the first years of Charlie's life when they were together and they split up. They had a shared care arrangement, and then you said that Charlie came to actually live with you for 2.5 years.
No, in the 50-50,
Okay.
in the 50-50, he was with me and his mum, but it was still really, really difficult between her and Joe. Neither of them helped with that situation, really. But obviously, I was always on the side of my grandson and my daughter. So I, not just supporting them, but it would have appeared to Joe as though I was against him. But I was really just trying to maintain a stable life for Charlie. Well, Jane's now no longer able to look after him. I said that they both had problems, but she can't look after him. She was more and more, if I was away, she often asked Joe to have him even during her days. So, unless I was there. Yeah, it sort of built up over time. I found that when I was away, I work full time, I travel for work, I travel for my life to have a life. And when I was away, Jane was more and more just asking Joe to have him. And that sort of just grew and grew, and it drifted that actually she became quite unreliable. And Joe was having him more and more. Okay. So it's led to the fact that she's no longer able or willing to have him at all, really, and she's left my home, and I don't really can't really have much contact with her. She doesn't want it.
Okay.
So he's now with Joe full time.
Can I just stop you there, Rose, so I can understand it? So Jane was living with you, shared care arrangement, for 2.5, 3 years, and obviously Charlie was in your home as well.
Yeah.
But Jane's become increasingly unreliable, and she was asking for Joe to have Charlie more and more. It drifted, and now Jane's left your home, so obviously Charlie's not with you anymore. And When did that happen? When did she leave?
6 months ago.
Okay.
Yeah. So I've been trying to get Joe to let me spend time again with Charlie, but he won't. He won't. He says, no, you didn't. He just sees me as the other side, the enemy. And so I had Charlie in my day to day in my life for a very long time, and he won't let me see him at all.
So he's simply just refusing to.
Yeah,
Are you
yeah.
contacting him at all? You sending him messages, ringing him up?
I message, and I at the beginning I just I sort of said to him, obviously that Jane has gone, and said, I can give as much support as you want. I want to be part of Charlie's life, and I want to support you. And so he just said, I don't need your support. And I then sort of changed it to, well, could I just see him sometimes? Can I take him out? And he's just refused to let me see him at all. I said, can I speak to him on the phone? He says no, because basically, as far as he's concerned, I'm the enemy,
Okay.
and I've got no idea how Charlie is, and it's breaking my heart.
So when was the last time you saw
It's March time. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Was when Jane left, was it?
Yes, that was probably one of the last times that he was here. I was looking after him. Jane wasn't, for a few months before that, Jane wasn't capable of looking after him. So when he was here, I was doing everything. But it was getting less and less, because she did then contact Joe and says, you need to have him. So Joe would take him. And so I was losing it was a gradual thing over those few months that he was here less and less. But then once he went there full time, Joe won't let me see him.
Okay.
And he hasn't got a lot of family support. So I don't know how he's managing.
Okay.
And I don't know why he won't let me help him.
So how do you think Charlie feels about this?
Oh, Charlie, well, he's a really cute little boy. And, we were really close. And he'd often, he'd come when he was here, he'd come and get in my bed in the morning, and have his shower in my room, just to, because we just did things together. It was, and I was, yeah, we were. He will wonder what on earth's gone. He's six, just six. So his mum's gone, his nana's gone. It must be dreadful for him.
I noticed he was born in May, so did you try and attempt to contact him or any birthday?
Yeah, yeah. I sent a card and a present, and I didn't get any acknowledgement. But I was at that time I was still messaging and trying to call. But obviously Joe controls that, doesn't he? Because Charlie's six, who doesn't have his own phone. So yeah, so I didn't get any acknowledgement of the card or the present.
So you've come here to look at mediation. What would you hope to achieve?
Just want to be part of Charlie's life, and just to have some sort of regular contact, so that he knows he can rely on me. It doesn't. It can. I mean, in an ideal world, I'd have him here loads, because that's what I'm used to. But if that's not possible, then just the odd day out at the weekend. I mean, if I presume Joe wants a life again, I can offer babysitting. I can do whatever. I mean, I know I said I work, but other than that, Charlie's my life.
Why do you mentioned earlier that Joe thinks views you as the enemy? Why do you think that is? Have you got any reasons why?
Because it was so unpleasant with Jane, you know, and obviously as a mum, I supported her, didn't I? And I think Jo knew that she wouldn't last in terms of, you know, parenting. Whether she wants to again in the future, who knows? But I think obviously Jo knew that she wasn't a great mum, and he knew that she was only managing it because of me.
Mm.
And maybe he thought that I should have let her fail earlier, or should have.
So you mentioned that Jane sort of left. Are you having any
Mm,
contact with Jane at the moment? Do you know
no,
where she lives?
no, she won't speak to me. I'm the enemy there as well. Basically, she's very ill. You know, I don't know how she's living. She probably.
Do you know if she's spending any time with or if Charlie's spending any time with her?
She's not contacting anybody now. She's disappeared. She's effectively disappeared, but she's not missing as such. I know roughly where she is, but yeah, it's a very bad situation.
Okay. So, um, you've tried contacting Joe, but he's effectively rebuffed your.
Yeah, he always answers.
Mm,
You know, he doesn't just blank me, other than the present, but he doesn't blank me. But he just says no. You're nothing to do with. He says you're nothing to do with Charlie anymore. You know.
okay. So Charlie, he hasn't blocked you or anything like that.
No, no, no. I don't know what his motives are, really, because he could just say, he could block me, could get me. I'm sure he could say I was harassing him, although it's not at that level. But he could say that, couldn't he? But yeah, I'm not allowed to. I'm off the list for picking up from school and things, and he just sort of just. I don't know what he's thinking, because he's not sharing that. And he hasn't got family support. So I'm worried about him, because, as I say, even when they were together, I had a role, because neither of them were great, but he was always stronger than her.
Yeah.
I, I always thought he was a better parent than my daughter. Yeah.
Okay. So he does answer your text, but the answer is simply no. So
Yeah.
in terms of any trying to make some decisions together or contact with him,
Mm.
it's a one-way conversation. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. There's nothing back from him. I don't get any updates on Charlie. I've obviously over time, I've started to reduce the number of times I contact. I might just contact. At the moment, I haven't contacted for a few weeks, because it's too distressing.
Okay.
And he knows that I've made it clear that I'm here, and I'll do whatever it takes to help him with Charlie.
Okay. So how would you feel about having mediation with Joe? I mean, what we would normally do from here is that we would invite him to a similar meeting as this. All right.
Mm,
So you've given us his details, so we'll contact him we'll text him, we'll email him,
yeah.
we'll write to him as well. You've given us those details.
Mm,
And what we'll do is we will, excuse me, so we'll invite him. We'll give him up to a fortnight to actually contact us, all right,
mm,
and to establish a contact with us. And if he does contact us, then we'll book him on a similar session as this.
mm.
Right.
Yes. Yeah.
Now you're not
Yeah.
legally aided, so he would have to pay for that unless he was legally aided himself. All right.
Yes.
We would assess
Yeah. I think I
eligibility.
don't. That might be a problem. I know he's had legal aid in the past, so
But
it
if he
might be
is if he
okay.
is within the means testing, then the
Mm,
will assess
mm,
aid, in which case he wouldn't have to pay for
mm,
that. And that has some financial consequences for you if he's legally aided. I'll explain that a bit later on. So we would contact him and we'd invite him to contact us within a fortnight, okay, to establish a contact, and we book him on a similar MIAM. And if he's willing to mediate, we would then set up a mediation session. Now our
mm,
sessions are online. We do online mediation on Zoom and on this software. Um, and we would send you both what we call an agreement to mediate, setting out our ground rules, which we ask you both to subscribe to, and you sign that online. It's a very straightforward process. The agreement to mediate, for example, contains terms such as you agree it's private and confidential, it's a privileged process. You both agree to be fair, to try and to work together to find solutions and that sort of thing. It's set out in more detail in the agreement. And the way that we work our mediation sessions, or structure our sessions rather, is we ask you, each of you at the beginning of the session, what your agenda is. Okay, so we work to what so your agenda, essentially, you already told me, essentially is you want just to have established some time with that Charlie spends with you, re-establish that relationship back and have that regular time with him, or some support as a grandmother who had a lot of involvement with her grandson for quite a long time. So we facilitate a conversation. So how would you feel about having a conversation with Joe in that environment?
No, I really want to, because I really tried to sort of support him with his difficulties as well. And I thought we had a good relationship. But it obviously wasn't what I thought it was. But I would hope that he could see that I'm genuine. I just want the best for Charlie, and I've got no other agenda other than that. Okay. So I desperately want to talk to Joe.
Okay. Do you have any worries about that, or concerns?
Well, only that he'll reject me again. But everything I've done has been to help Charlie have a settled life, and I think sometimes he hasn't seen that because his own issues, but also the terrible time that Jane put him through, I think.
So you're willing anyway to talk to him on a face-to-face basis with a mediator there. We're there to make sure the situation is safe, and we oversee obviously the process and facilitate those conversations between the two of you. See if we can find some solutions. Okay. I want to ask you a bit about some safeguarding questions we have as part of our process. As I remember, I said to you at the beginning that we have to assess whether mediation is suitable. So just to ask you some very basic questions about that. Do you have any safeguarding concerns about Joe looking after your grandson at all? Are you
No. I think he'd do a better job if I was supporting him, but no, I don't have safeguarding concerns.
Okay. And so there's been no social services involvement or anything like that?
No.
Or any police involvement at all?
No, not to my knowledge, no.
And you're not aware of any in your daughter's relationship with Joe? There's been your daughter hasn't told you about any concerns that she's had about any
No, I think just because of their own difficulties, they accuse each other of all sorts of things. But I was there in the house. I didn't see any. I think they've just both said unsubstantiated things about each other, but not. I just think it just became a toxic relationship in the end.
And you've got, in terms of your interaction with Joe, has there been anything that he's done that made you feel particularly uncomfortable, apart from saying no to your obviously request to spend time?
No. I think he's been a good dad. Yeah. I just think he could be better with support. That's all.
So for you, it's about providing that support as a grandma again, isn't it? And being involved.
Yeah, I just want to be a grandmother. That's it's my only grandchild, and it's terrible. It's horrible.
Okay, and I take it there's no court orders in place or anything like that. You're not aware of any court orders concerning.
Well, there was a court order for the 50-50, but I don't know that whether he's gone back to court to say anything different. I don't actually know. I would imagine, I would think he would have done, to got the fact that Charlie, otherwise she could just come back for him, couldn't she? So
there have been court proceedings between.
Yeah, this was when they first split up. So this was a couple of years ago now. Yeah.
Okay. So there were court proceedings between Jane and Joe. for that resulted in a shared arrangement order.
Yeah, but it never stayed that, because he was always, whenever she got the chance, she said to Joe, "Can you have him?"
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So this was 2 years ago, approximately. 2 years ago. Child arrangements order between Joe and Jane. Okay. All right. So cost of mediation. I'm sure that's very forefront of mind. Remember I explained to you that if Joe is legally aided, that can have some consequences as well. So starting point. So you paid for today. All right. So let's assume that Joe is not legally aided. All right. So if Joe's not legally aided, we would charge you each £135 an hour. Okay, for our mediation. Our sessions are normally 2 hours long. So the first session would cost you £270. However, there's some help available for you, both in the form of what is called the Ministry of Justice Family Mediation Voucher Scheme. So under that scheme, we are able to apply for funding from the government of £500 with your consent and with Joe's consent. Okay. So, and we can use that £500. We allocate £250 to you and £250 to Joe. So the first session would effectively cost you 20 quid. Okay. Each. All right. If Joe is legally aided, when our team contact him, he says, I can't afford to pay for the MIAM, or because I'm on a low income, they'll assess him for legal aid and they can get him legal aid sorted for him. If he's legally aided, then that has an impact upon the situation, in that his mediation costs will be funded by the legal aid agency. All right. And so that means that the £500 mediation voucher, we don't need to split that in two. We can allocate it to you towards your.
Right. Yeah.
So you have £500 towards your mediation session costs. All right. Him being legally aided also has some further benefits for you. In number one, it retrospectively pays for you to attend here. So you will get a credit for what you've paid for the session today. And the second thing is, the first hour of the first mediation session is actually funded by his legal aid. So as you can see, although we would charge you £135 an hour thereafter, there's quite a few hours worth of mediation that.
Well, I think if he's not interested, then we won't get beyond that. And I think if he is, then it hopefully will resolve itself, because he knows I've supported him in the past. Yeah.
Okay. And remember I talked to you earlier about any solutions you reach in mediation being just your and Joe's solutions. The situation is that, and I talked to you also about how you can put those solutions on more of a firmer footing. So if you and Joe come to a solution, we can write that up in what we call a parenting plan, or a plan. And if both signed that plan, that document would become an open document. In other words, it would be admissible in court as evidence of an agreement or a solution that you reached. We would normally, give you at the end of our sessions our session records. That's our record of what we record as what you may have. We determine what the issues are of what may have been proposed and the solutions you may have reached. But that's our record, and that record is legally privileged. So you couldn't wave it at a court saying, I've reached an agreement, here it is.
Right.
That's a legally privileged record, and it's not binding because it's without prejudice, what lawyers call without prejudice. But if you were to write up that record into the form of a plan about your son, which can include, times when you can spend time with him, maybe take him a bit on holiday, all sorts of things you can put in there.
Yeah, that would be nice.
That would be admissible in court.
Holiday would be good. Yeah. Yes.
holiday. That would be admissible as evidence of a solution that you've agreed in court. Remember, it's not a parenting plan is not a court order, so it's not enforceable.
No, no.
But it would normally be seen. This is just some general information for you as an important document. A properly mediated plan would be seen by a court as an important document, and you would be able to show it to a court. Just to let you know, if you wanted a plan written up, we would have to charge you for that because it's not covered by the £500 voucher scheme. We normally have to charge you about £202, normally 50 for that. Although you will get a credit for for what you've paid for today towards that if Joe was legally aided. So it's all a little bit complicated.
Yeah.
Hopefully you understand that. So to get the voucher, we just need your consent, which I'm sure is not a problem, and you give that consent. Just also to mention to you that another way of having a solution that's in a binding format would be to invite the court by consent to make an order. Okay, it is technically possible for a court to be invited to make an order by consent. The two of you would have to apply together, all right, and the court would have to be convinced that it was in the best interests and welfare of your grandson, generally speaking. So it's general information to make that such an order. I must admit, I've never seen it happen, all right, outside of there being court proceedings ongoing at the same time, all right? So an isolated application to the court, I personally never seen happen, but I'm just letting you know general information. It is possible, okay? Just to let you know also, do you remember I talked to you earlier about other forms of non-court dispute resolution that may be available? So apart from mediation, that you've got a number of other options to think about, apart from a court process. There is technically a process called family arbitration. Okay, so family arbitration is a process where you both instruct an arbitrator, who's a qualified family arbitrator. The arbitrators, they're usually senior solicitors or barristers, and they act to arbitrate, to provide you with a solution. It's a bit like employing your own private judge, but they arbitrate, providing you with a private solution to which you both agree to be bound by contract to abide by. Okay. They charge you a fee. There's no legal aid available for it. It won't be cheap. All right. There's no voucher scheme. Okay. But instead of going to court, you employ your own private arbitrator. There is a solution called mutual third-party evaluation, where you could go in front of one individual, usually a lawyer, to get some legal advice jointly to help you find a solution together. You can employ a solicitor and meet round the table with lawyers collaboratively to have discussions, okay, as an alternative, but that assumes you'd have to pay for that. There's no normal aid available for that. So the situation is clearly suitable for mediation, and you're willing to move forward. So our next step, as I've indicated before, is that you need to wait for a fortnight before contacting our office for an update on your case. So we will contact him straight away. It goes straight away. Okay, he gets an automatic invite, and you need to wait 2 weeks. If you haven't heard from us within a fortnight, you need to wait 2 weeks before contact the office to get an update on the situation. And the easiest way to get an update, Rose, is to email our office. You've got our email address.
Yeah.
Say, please give me an update. What's going on? And they'll tell you what's going on. So I was going to say, yeah, he's contacted us. We're waiting for his MIAM meeting. Or it may be that he's had his MIAM and he's willing to mediate. If that's the case, what the team will then do, they'll then send to you and to him a list of prospective dates for your first appointment, okay, your first joint appointment. And that appointment, as I said before, will be 2 hours long, all right? So you just need a bit of peace and quiet for a couple of hours. So could you tell me what time of day would you prefer a mediation session, morning or the afternoon? We're talking Monday to Friday.
Afternoon, I
For
think.
afternoons? Okay.
Yeah.
And
Can't be too late though, because obviously I don't know what Joe's doing about school, but I don't know if he's going to after school club. But yeah, middle of the afternoon
okay.
should be
And
fine. Yeah.
are there any dates in the next few weeks you definitely cannot attend mediation?
No, no. My diary sort of varies week by week, so it's difficult. But there's no particular day at the
Nothing is
moment. No,
particularly in your mind at the moment. Okay.
no, no.
So what the team will do then is, if he is willing to mediate, they will contact, as I say, they'll give you some list of dates and times, and they'll give Joe a list of dates and times. Assuming your dates match, they'll then send out a Zoom link for the first session and a document, the agreement to mediate, to sign online as well, which you can do. It's very straightforward and simple to do. If your dates don't match up, they have another decent attempt at doing it. All right, so they'll have another round two trying to get dates.
Yeah.
If after two decent attempts you can't find a mutually agreeable date, then they'll close the case. We don't normally find that a problem where people genuinely want.
Oh, right. Yeah. Okay.
Just to let you know, so we think it's important that you try and agree as many dates as potentially possible to ensure that that mutual date can be fixed. A couple of obvious points. If someone didn't turn up to a meeting, unless it's an emergency and let us know straight away, then we'll close the case. Because obviously, if people don't want to come to mediation, they don't turn up, then we'll close the case, full stop. Okay. So it's your responsibility just to check emails, text, voicemails, and any missed calls from us and get back to them as soon as possible. Another point is that as mediators, we don't have any discussions with our clients outside of the mediation room. Anything of an admin nature, you contact the admin team. All right. Anything else, you've got any burning questions about the mediation or anything like that, bring it into the mediation sessions. No point contacting us because we won't respond, because we don't want to be seen to be siding with anyone or preferring.
Yeah.
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 It has to be done openly, honestly, and transparently. Remember, because we're impartial and we're neutral. Okay. So if Joe doesn't respond to us, okay, or if he does respond and says, I don't want to mediate, or if you go to mediation session and you don't have a solution which either of you are satisfied with, we can provide you with a certificate, a mediator certificate. And that certificate basically says, look, you've tried the mediation process, but you effectively no solutions have been reached. Then we provide that certificate, and that certificate is a gateway for you to make a court application for an order to the court to spend time for your grandson rather, to spend time. All right. Our certificates have a 4-month shelf life. All right. So if you get a certificate and you wait 4 months, and then 4 months and one day you think, oh, I want to go to court, the certificate's expired. All right.
Right.
The court won't let you issue an application unless it's an emergency. All right.
Yeah.
Without that certificate. So you have to come back through, do another MIAM and go through this process again. So it's got a 4-month shelf life. You are entitled to ask for a certificate at any time. Some people want the certificate because they want to issue court proceedings to run alongside mediation. All right. So if when you contact the admin team, they say he hasn't responded, if they say that, for example, you need to ask for the certificate if you want it. Okay. All right. So I assume you don't want a certificate at this stage. You just want to try and, is that right?
No, I don't want it. I don't want to antagonize him. I just want to support. Yeah.
Okay. And I take it you're not going to be in any danger from Joe if we invite him to.
No.
Okay. All right. Do you have any other questions at this stage?
No, there's a lot of information, isn't
It
there?
is a lot of information. Yeah, that's why it's a bit of time.
Yeah, but no, I think we'll just take one step at a time. That's what I was, and just I'm hoping that if hears it from somebody else, and
Mm.
he, and maybe because I've not been in as much contact, maybe he's calmed down. Maybe he might recognise that he needs some help. But I'm hoping anyway. I've got to try everything, haven't I?
Okay. Okay. Well, we'll see how we can do to help. We're here to help
Mm.
both of you to find solutions, the best solutions for your grandson, because at the end of the day, we're impartial. But if we're here for anyone, it's for your grandson.
Yeah, he's lost too much, hasn't he?
Okay.
Yeah,
Well, okay, so it's a waiting game for you now.
yeah,
So wait those 2 weeks. If you haven't heard from us within 2 weeks, you know how to contact the team to get an update,
yeah,
see what
yeah.
happens. And
Okay,
and
thank you.
then if he's willing to mediate, you'll get the Zoom link. Well, you'll get details of dates,
Yeah,
agreeing a
and
date
then the link. Yeah,
with agreement to
yeah, yeah. Thank you, thank you.
Okay. Well,
Okay, that's fabulous. Thank you so much.
thank you very much. I wish you all the
Yeah.
best. Okay.
Take care. Bye bye.
Okay. Bye-bye.